He then went at 1.5. Did you see that bubble then?
Nope.
Oh, sorry.
Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds and our go through of all the different IPL teams after the auction, providing our initial thoughts, how the teams are stacking up at this point in time. And today we're talking about the greatest team to have never won the IPL, Royal Challengers Bangalore. I use this one every year, don't I, James? But yeah, Royal Challengers Bangalore, so good. Whether they're going to win this year, to be seen. James, I'll go to you first before I talk about my thoughts on my favorite team. What did you think about their auction? Do you think they secured all the players they needed, or do you think there's a few things to be lacking? Few things that are lacking in this
I
team.
think they made some decent purchases. I know on social media everybody's catastrophizing. They're saying that RCB absolutely flopped this auction. They're saying they went in without a plan, all that sort of stuff. I don't think it's that bad. I do think they left some gaps, namely a spinner and a wicket keeping replacement. They're the main gaps because they've just got quite a lot of reliance on Khan Sharma, who is a good spinner. Like, he does a job, but he's not a brilliant one. And if he's slightly out of form, they're kind of a bit stuffed. Same with Dinesh Karthik. He's not as good as he once was. He's definitely on the decline, but whether or not he can, perform is kind of that's where RCB's success hinges quite a lot. I do think they've got some good purchases. I think getting what's he called? The fast one. What's he called?
Sorry, Joseph.
That's the one. Getting Alzari Joseph is quite an exciting purchase. He didn't have a good IPL last year, but he's somebody that I think has quite a lot of potential. He was very expensive though. And then Tom Curran is kind of cover as a bowling all-rounder. He's come on quite a lot recently, especially with batting. And he's looking more secure in what he's bowling at the death, which makes him a better player. So I think there are good sides and there are bad sides to it. What are your feelings?
So I think we've got some decent young uncapped Indians that we've decided to purchase, like Chauhan, Swampul Singh as well. And I find that the straight swap with Mayank Dagar with Shabaz Ahmed, I reckon RCB scouts would have seen a lot in Mayank Dagar. And I'm happy at this stage to be optimistic and trust in that decision to make that swap, because Shabaz Ahmed was a very important part of the RCB team over the last few seasons. So I kind of trust that a little bit, and we'll wait to see how that goes. I also like the pickup of Yash Dayal as well. I think he's a very good left arm pacer. So I'm quite happy with that uncapped Indian picks. I think getting Alzari Joseph is because we didn't have the purse to get Pat Cummins or Mitchell Stark. We obviously pushed for Pat Cummins quite high. But missing out on him and Mitchell Stark cost us a decent lower order hitter as well as a top class bowler. I think Alzari Joseph's a good fit and he's a very good bowler, but he's not quite that lower order number 8 hitter, which means we're missing out on that, which is why I think we had to get Tom Curran to kind of compensate for Joseph's lack of batting. Because if we'd got someone like Cummins or Stark, probably wouldn't need Tom Curran, but Tom Curran provides that extra hitting down the order. So I think also that meant that we missed out on having extra money to buy a better quality spinner, for example. So I think a few things kind of went against us in terms of getting the picks we needed. And to me, it seems like RCB were relying on their backup choices in the auction as opposed to their first choices in the auction, which is a shame, but you can't have good auctions all the time, can you?
No. One thing that I think they messed up with, actually, just thinking back, was they released Hasaranga, and he was, I think, 10.75 crore. He was then sold by, he was bought by Sunrisers Hyderabad for 1.5 crore, which, as we'll get onto the Sunrisers one in a future video, that was an absolute steal in my opinion. But if RCB had actually managed to at least bid for him because they had the money to go for him, to challenge it a little bit, that would have at
Mm.
least meant that Sunrisers had to spend more on him, which would potentially mean that they would back out of the bidding war with Pat Cummins. So kind of looking back, that might have changed things a little bit. But
Yeah.
obviously hindsight is 2020, and Hasaranga just wasn't in RCB's plans anymore. So
Yeah.
yeah. Should we have a look at potential 12s for this RCB side? Do you
Yeah,
want
of
to go?
course. Yeah, so the top five is kind of set in stone for me. Faf du Plessis, Virat Kohli, Rajat Patidar, Glenn Maxwell, Cameron Green. For me, that's a very strong top five. Having Rajat Patidar back this season, he's a really exciting player. Um, I think he's not going to perform every game, but he's an attacking batsman, which I think we've lacked for the last few seasons at the top of the order. And obviously, Glenn Maxwell and Cameron Green in that middle order kind of frees up the mind of Kohli and du Plessis to kind of go a bit harder as well. In terms of number six, I'm not so sure. It'll probably have to be either Mahipal Lomror or Suyesh Prabhadesai. I'm not sure if Chauhan is a number six. He might be. I'm not sure.
I think he's roughly
But
middle order. I think.
okay, so one of those three at number six. Dinesh Karthik, I've got as number seven, and then the rest, I've got Khan Sharma or Mayank Dagar at number eight, Alsari Joseph at number nine, Mohammad Siraj at number 10, and Yash Dayal at number 11. And in terms of the impact player, I've got one of those young India batsmen, so a Mahapal Lomrel, for example, or Saurav Chauhan, whichever one misses out. Because looking at that bowling lineup from 8 to 11, it is lacking. I want RCB to bat deep, so having the impact player as a batsman, I think, is what we need to kind of bolster that. I'm not sure if you've got any thoughts about how you might change the overseas options or anything like that.
Yeah, so I think I am inclined to agree with your top five. I think Faf,
Mm.
Kohli, Patidar, Maxwell, and Green are pretty much nailed on. With some of that part-time bowling from Maxwell and Green, I think it offers quite a lot of balance. I also had Lomraw and at six, and then I had Chauhan at seven because he was somebody that I'd identified as a decent potential finisher. So for me, it's worth having him in, which then puts Dinesh Karthik in at eight. So I'm obviously batting really deep because I'm
Yeah,
the same as
I
you.
like
I
that.
think that's what RCB need to do. And then I had Khan Sharma because you have to play that him. He's your only leg spinner. Alzari Joseph, Mohammad Siraj, and Dagar as the impact player. What that does do is it limits you slightly in terms of your bowling options because you have Khan Sharma, Joseph, Siraj, and Dagar that kind of need to bowl their allotted overs. And then, you need to get the remaining 4 overs between Maxwell, Green, and Mahipal Lomror. And if any of your frontline bowlers doesn't have a great game, that's where you could run into issues. So for me, it's the bowling that is looking the most kind of lacking for
Yeah.
RCB, which is a shame because in previous years they've had a really good bowling attack. When it was
Mm.
Hazelwood and Hasaranga and Shabazz Ahmed's a decent bowler, I think. Then I think they were looking better, but I think they'll win some games by massive margins and they'll lose some
Mm.
games by massive margins. I see this as a high variance looking side
And
now.
that's probably down to the fact that we've got some pretty good batting at the top of the order. That's always going to happen. If you're relying on your bowlers, then you tend to win more in those closer games. You said about Khan Sharma being our only leg spinner. We've also got Himanshu Sharma, who played one game for us last season. He's a decent young leggy, kind of unknown. So a lot of our spinning options are the young Indian players. And that will be a test, especially at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. Maybe we can find the next Yuzvendra Chahal, who again was pretty unknown when he came into the RCB team. I think he had one season for Mumbai. So yeah, there's going to be a lot riding on those young Indian spinners to do a job. There are options there, and this is something I kind of want to get into. Is for me, the price of some of these players doesn't really matter. You get the players to fit the squad and the balance. It doesn't matter how much you need to pay, because in reality, given how much they have in all the teams, the price doesn't matter. So just because we spent so much on Cameron Green and Alsari Joseph, I don't think that means we necessarily have to pick them if it helps the balance of the side. So for example, let's say Cameron Green isn't doing so well with the bat. Why not bring in Tom Curran? Lower down the order, provides that extra hitting, is a better bowling option. That might help the balance. Or why not bring in Will Jacks if we need an extra spinner? I don't think we have to play Cameron Green every game. Also, Alsari Joes, we've got sort of replacements here. We've got Lockie Ferguson, we've got Reece Topley. There's options for us, and I think a lot of teams will kind of go with that. And I think we kind of need to not be surprised if the big buys don't play every game.
Yeah, that's a really good mentality to have, and that I think that'll be something we bear in mind in the rest of these videos. Which, if you are enjoying them, please do consider subscribing. We are covering all of the IPL teams, so yeah, stick around. Plenty more IPL content and other cricket content on this channel. Thank you so much for your continued support. You can follow our social medias as well. They're all in the link tree down below. You can become a member. That's the best way to support this channel. That is also in the description. So thank you once again, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.